Hi there everyone, and a very warm welcome to this special edition of the Turbo Business Interview. I'm joined by the esteemed thinker Richard Koch. Richard, very good morning. I believe, whereabouts are you? In England somewhere, are you?
I'm in Spain actually
You're
at
in
the moment, but
Spain.
yeah, good morning to you too. The sun will be rising very shortly. It's a little bit dark. Actually, I can see it's sunny in the window on my right, but anyway.
It's coming through. Well, I think that's the same sun that I can see just onto my right that's disappearing, probably. Being down under here. I think everyone probably knows Richard, but for those of you who don't, he's a British author, speaker, and investor, former management consultant. He's a serial entrepreneur. He's written over 20 books, including one of my all-time favorites, the 80-20 Principle. You can see it's fairly dog-eared there, Richard. That copy was purchased in, oh, I don't have it, it's just got my name in the front so no bugger steals it. But that sold over 1 million copies, not too bad. But also we've got the Power Laws, which I really enjoyed, this one here. And then we've got Living the 80-20 Way, which is more of personalization, the 80-20 Individual. Some books you've probably even forgotten you've written these, Richard. You've written so many. Smart Strategy, which is a pretty cool little book, and a couple of books you wrote for the Financial Times Guide to Strategy. And I also have the 80-20 Manager, but it's on the Kindle, so I can't flash that in front of you. So first of all,
Oh well, let me do the honors on that then.
there we go, the
So this
80-20
is
Manager. Actually, I do have a hard copy of
the
that.
80-20 manager.
Yeah,
This is the one which has just come out. Yeah.
yeah, it's a beauty. So let's get started. Richard, we've already mentioned that the latest book is the 80-20 Manager. Can you give us a quick summary of the premise behind the book?
Sure. There are two different sorts of manager, really. There are those that are like most managers today, which is they're overwhelmed by work. I mean, one of the problems of modern society is that work has become very, very overwhelming, which means most managers feel behind, they feel they haven't got enough time, they feel stressed, they feel that they're overloaded, they feel that they're overworked, and of course with modern technology we all have to be, or we think we have to be, available 24/7. You can never really escape from work. You're always sending emails at very odd hours of the day, receiving them, and so on and so forth. But there are other sorts of managers, not so many of them, who somehow manage to escape this prison of overwork. And these managers are people who are very relaxed, always have plenty of time, and they're in many ways the complete opposite of other managers. And the answer is that they are behaving, whether they know it or not, but usually they do know it, in accordance with the 80-20 principle. And the 80-20 principle says that most of what we do is a complete waste of time, that there are a few things which are incredibly important. It's not really a law, it's an observation. You can see it, or you can test whether or not it's true. But most results come from very few causes. And the typical idea is that, well, 20% of salespeople will sell 80% of goods, or 20% of the carpets in your house will get 80% of the wear, 20% of the car journeys that you make will clock up 80% of the mileage or kilometrage that you have. 20% of all celebrities, probably 1% of all celebrities, will get 99% of the fame. You know, it's true on Twitter that 50% of all the attention on Twitter goes to 1/20th of 1% of the people who tweet. I'm not in that group, unfortunately.
Well,
and it's also true that 10% of followers on Twitter account for 90% approximately of the people followed.
right.
So it's this phenomenon that most of what we do is a complete waste of time. Most of the methods which we use are a complete waste of time. Most of businesses are a complete waste of time as well.
Most humans.
Because they don't make very much money, and you know there are very, very few businesses that do make a lot of money.
Right.
And yeah, so the whole idea is to try and identify the methods, the ideas, the forces which are behind what you can do. And so, you know, the idea for managers being relaxed and in control, ahead of the game, gliding through it, is not that they are much cleverer than the rest of us. It's not that they have, some magical technique. It's just that they're doing the things which are really productive and not doing the vast majority of things which are not productive.
You go a lot further in the book because you describe 10 management styles, I suppose, that exploit the potential of the 80-20 principle. Really interesting reading through them and seeing how how a person can identify with which one. Let's take just one of them, the investigating manager. You say that few people other than children and detectives ask many questions. What sort of questions does an investigating manager ask?
The most important question that any entrepreneur certainly can ask is, what is it about my business that can make it different from other businesses and can make it much more useful to a small group or a large group of customers? So the business formula is probably the most important question for any entrepreneur, certainly if you're starting a business or you're in the early stages of a business. And so for entrepreneurs, the really important thing is, what can we do that nobody else can do as well, or preferably at all? So that really is the first question. What is the activity why do customers, if we've got customers, why do customers like us? But once you've got a business, once it's been going for any length of time, a year or 2 years or whatever, probably the most important question is, who are the most important customers to us in terms not of revenue, but in terms of profit? So Tom, the very important thing there is, which customers, if we really did the numbers correctly, which customers account for, all of 20% of customers that might account for 80% of profit. You can investigate that. You don't have to take it as gospel that a small number of customers will account for most of the profits. I've never, ever investigated that without finding it's true. Whether it's 5% accounting for 80% of profits or 20% or 25%, it's usually something like 5 to 10% of customers.
All right.
And so, this goes against our concept that each customer is equally important.
Right.
There's kind of like a democratic assumption sort of deeply built into our psyche, certainly in the West, which says that everyone's important. Well, in economic terms, that's not true. And so what you've got to do is find out, who are these customers, who are the most important customers for us, and then just make sure that you're giving them exactly what they want.
Okay.
And you might say, well, that's rather difficult, isn't it? But if you know that you've only really got to care about 1 in 5 of your customers or 1 in 10 of your customers, it becomes a great deal easier to then make sure not only that you can keep them happy, but that you can provide new products that they want, that you can double your business with them, that you can find other people who are similar to them. So that is probably the most important single question. And the second most important question is about your products. Because it is nearly always true also, in fact even more extremely in most cases, that a very small number of your stock keeping units or products are accounting for 80% plus of gross margin. And indeed, if you investigate the true profitability going below the gross margin level, it's even more extreme than that. So what are the core products that we are providing? And usually, most firms have far too many products, far too many product lines, and within each product line, far too many variants or different types of product. Every additional variation that you have costs a huge amount of money. It's usually well concealed by the accounting system, which are almost conspiracies to not tell you what's going on. But it's nearly always true that there are very few products that are extremely profitable. Okay. And then the third question, which is really putting together the first two questions, is, what is the core of the business? And the core of the business are the most profitable products provided to the most profitable customers, very, very simple terms. So if you can identify those, then you're off to a very good start. There are some other questions which I'm asking. Hi Tom, do we appear to have lost each other?
No, I'm still here. It's just the buzzer went off, and normally I cut people off at this point, but it took too long to get you online, so I'm not going to stop the interview now. I'm breaking one of my rules. Richard, what about this? Thank you for that. Can we go on and have a look at some of the things that a business owner or entrepreneur can do to simplify their role? If 80% of what they're doing is in effect irrelevant, how can they get rid of the 80%, free up time, focus on the big goals?
You have to get rid of everything that's peripheral. You have to get rid of everything that's not in the 20% of things which account for 80% of your output. And for entrepreneurs, I think the getting rid of things is relatively simple. What's a little bit more difficult is to try and define what is the things that you shouldn't get rid of. All right, so I'll come on to that in a second.
Okay.
But the things that you should get rid of are firstly anything that relates to administration, anything that a secretary or a PA can do, anything that someone who is may not be quite as good as you, or they may be better than you at a particular thing, can do, but they are not you. They are someone that's a cheaper resource with at least lower opportunity cost. So it means getting rid of everything that you are not uniquely qualified to do, and everything that you don't deliver in a very, very short period of time in terms of value. So what are those very valuable things that you do? I think there are three different groups of ideas, Tom, with different concepts of things that the entrepreneur does, which can be incredibly valuable. The first of them we've already talked about, which is what is the business formula of the company. You know, an entrepreneur that is really going to be successful spends 24 hours a day thinking about this, even when they're asleep. You know, what is it that we uniquely can do to provide a better product, or a product that just isn't available to other people, to a certain group of customers? So what is our formula? And get rid of everything else, outsource everything else. You know, try and reduce your activities to those very, very few things that you absolutely need to do in order to provide something which is different or better to customers.
Okay.
So they're kind of like the strategy things. The second thing is the customer-related things. You know, I believe the leader of the company, particularly a young company, has got to be at the fore of talking to customers, understanding what it is that they want and what they don't want, what they really like about the company, what they don't like about the company, but particularly what they like about the company, actually. You've got to really understand that. Winning new customers, doubling business with existing customers, finding other customers who are like those core customers. So the first thing is the business formula. The second thing, the customer-related activities. And in the business formula, that also means the products that we provide, and simplifying the product line and making sure we've got absolutely the right products. And the third set of things which can't be delegated are the things to do with the leadership of the company. And that really comes down to two things in my view. One is getting the very, very best people that you can to work with you. And, you know, the 80-20 rule applies very much with people. You know, it's always a very few people who deliver something which other people just can't do. So you've got to make sure that you've got those people with you. And the other leadership thing, which is absolutely crucial in my view, is establishing an ethos within the company, an attitude within the company, which says we're going to support each other. So it's basically a supportive culture rather than a negative culture.
Right.
And, you know, most firms don't know that. Most people are reasonably polite and civilized and the rest of it, but they're not going out of their way to really make the other people in the firm very, very successful. And that's what you've got to do. In a sense, you've got to have this view, it's us against the world, and particularly against the competitors. Which means that you can't have anybody in the firm who doesn't, you know, subscribe to that view. You know, they don't all have to be going rah-rah and sort of, you know, basically mindless cult figures. But you do need to have everyone sort of, you know, really, really with the right attitude in the firm. And if you've got some people who haven't got the right attitude, you've just got to get rid of them. So those are some leadership functions which are basically people functions in my view. Getting the right people, getting rid of the wrong people, and making sure that everyone has this supportive internal culture.
Beautiful. Look, Richard, clearly people need to get a hold of the book, the 80-20 Manager. They can do that on Amazon, I guess. Are there other websites that you want to direct people to?
No, I think Amazon's fine. Yeah, Amazon's fine. I'll just bring
That's
up the
it.
book again for
The 80/20 manager.
I hope it's really useful to people. I think it is, and it's certainly a different kind of book. I should have said earlier, the premise behind the book is that there are 10 different ways, as you said, 10 different ways that you can become an outstanding manager.
Yeah.
You don't have to master all of them.
No.
Just one of them will
do.
Your effectiveness.
Well, I have one question which I have on my wall, which we can't swing the webcam around to have a look at, but it's an absolute cracker from the book, asking every day, what big goal can I achieve with relatively little effort? Love it. Richard, again, genuine thanks for giving up your very valuable time to share with our valuable subscribers, and we wish you every success for your future endeavours.
Great, and every success to your subscribers and to you, Tom. Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks, Richard.